The council chamber fell silent when the human walked in. Ambassador Chun moved with the strange, confident gait that marked her species. Neither the careful shuffle of the Cree nor the gliding float of the Vesson. She walked like someone who owned the ground beneath her feet, even though this station belonged to no single species. The other ambassadors watched her take her seat, some with curiosity, others with barely hidden concern. Humans had only joined the Galactic Assembly 3 cycles ago, and already they had a reputation. Not for violence, though their military history suggested they were capable of it. Not for brilliance, though their scientists had impressed many. No, humans had earned their reputation for being unpredictable and, frankly, a little bit insane. The Assembly recognizes Ambassador Chun of Earth, High Curator Velis announced, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the human. You requested an emergency session. We have granted it. Please state your purpose. Chun stood. She smiled, which many species found unsettling. Humans showed their teeth when they were happy. It seemed wrong to most of the galaxy. Thank you, High Curator. I come before you today to discuss the Kethril situation. She paused, letting her words sink in. Around the circular chamber, representatives shifted uncomfortably. I propose that humanity leads a rescue mission to Kethril 4. The chamber erupted. Not with sound, many species here did not communicate with sound alone, but with a flurry of colors, scents, and vibrations that made the translation devices work overtime. Ambassador Druven of the Kree was the first to form coherent words. Impossible. The Kethril system is inside the burn zone. The radiation alone would kill most species within hours. The rescue window closed 2 cycles ago. For most species, yes, Chun agreed calmly. But humans have certain advantages. Velis raised one manipulator limb. The chamber settled. Explain. Chun tapped her datapad. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a slowly rotating planet. Kethril 4 looked beautiful from space blue and green and white. The image shifted, zooming in on a single continent. On the southern shore sat a research station. 47 scientists remained trapped in the station, Chun said. The stellar flare destroyed their evacuation ships. Their communications went down. The radiation levels are climbing. According to our calculations, they have perhaps 10 standard days before their shielding fails completely. We know this, Ambassador Threen clicked, her mandibles working rapidly. The Assembly has already declared the situation a tragic loss. The Kree sent probes. The radiation destroyed them before they reached the surface. The Vesson calculated that no known shielding technology can withstand the conditions long enough for a rescue. We have accepted that those scientists made the ultimate sacrifice for knowledge. You have accepted it, Chun said quietly. We have not. Druven made a sound like grinding rocks. Your sentiment is admirable, but foolish. Humans are not immune to radiation. You would send your people to die alongside the researchers? This helps no one. We're not immune, Chun agreed. But we're more resistant than you might think. And we have something else. Something that might seem crazy to you, but it's kept. Our species alive through ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, and our own worst impulses. And what is that? Velis asked. We're too stubborn to know when to quit. The chamber fell silent again. Several ambassadors seemed confused. The translation devices struggled with the idiom. Chun continued. Humanity volunteers to attempt the rescue. We've already prepared a ship with enhanced shielding. We've selected a crew trained in high radiation environments. We've calculated the risks. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, we might fail. But those people down there deserve a chance. Every being in this chamber would want the same if their people were trapped. The radiation will degrade your shielding faster than you can extract them, Threen insisted. The mathematics are clear. Mathematics can be wrong, Chun said. or incomplete. We've brought something to the table that your calculations didn't account for. She tapped her datapad again. The hologram changed, showing a strange organic shape. It pulsed with bioluminescence, covered in what looked like scales or plates. This is a Terran extremophile organism. We call them tardigrades, though this is a specially modified variant. These creatures can survive radiation levels that would vaporize most life. We've integrated their genetic material into a biogel coating for our ship's hull. It's experimental, but early tests show promise. Velis leaned forward. You would risk your people on experimental technology? We would, Chun said simply. Because it's the right thing to do. Because those 47 beings down, there are scientists who volunteered to expand the knowledge of every species in this assembly. Because if we won't try to save our own people when things get hard, what kind of civilization are we? Druven stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber floor. And if you fail? If your crew dies attempting this impossible rescue, what then? Chan met his gaze without flinching. Then at least they'll die trying. That's very human of them. We have a saying on Earth. Fortune favors the bold. Sometimes. You have to take the crazy option because it's the only option left. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and eye analogs of every ambassador present. I'm not asking for your ships or your people. I'm asking for permission to try. Let us do what we do best. Let us attempt the impossible. If we succeed, 47 beings go home. If we fail, well, at least we'll go down fighting. The silence stretched. Finally, Velis spoke. The assembly will vote. All in favor of allowing the human rescue attempt. One by one, lights appeared in the chamber. Green for yes. Red for no. When the count finished, the yes votes had won by a narrow margin. Chun smiled again. That unsettling display of teeth. Thank you. We won't let you down. As she left the chamber, Druven called after her. Ambassador Chun, why do humans always choose the hard path? She paused at the doorway and looked back. Because the easy path doesn't need us. The galaxy already has plenty of species who know when to quit. It needs at least one that doesn't. The rescue ship Determination hung in space above Kethril 4 like a metal promise. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge, watching the planet rotate slowly below them. The radiation readings made her instruments scream warnings in 5 different colors. Any sane person would have turned around by now. Good thing she'd never been accused of being sane. Status report, she said, not taking her eyes off the VIEWPOR to Lieutenant Jackson checked his console. The biogel coating is holding. Radiation penetration is at 37% of predicted levels. The tardigrade proteins are doing their job. Environmental suits? Checked and triple-checked. Everyone's wearing the heavy models with the experimental lining. We've got maybe 6 hours of protection planetside if we're lucky. And if we're not lucky? Jackson grinned. Then we've got 4 hours. But when have humans ever relied on luck? Santos allowed herself a small smile. A crew of 12 represented the best humanity had to offer. Engineers who could fix anything with duct tape and stubbornness. Medics who treated injuries in war zones and natural disasters. Pilots who'd flown through asteroid fields for fun. And Jackson, her second-in-command, who'd once survived a reactor breach by sheer determination and spite. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship-wide comm. We're going in. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. And remember that the entire galaxy is watching to see if humans are as crazy as they think we are. Let's not disappoint them. The crew's laughter crackled over the comm. Nervous energy and excitement mixed together. Santos had chosen each person carefully, not just for their skills, but for their ability to function under pressure, for their refusal to accept failure as an option, The Determination shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. The biogel coating glowed faintly in the radiation, bioluminescent proteins lighting up like fireflies. Outside, the sky burned with colors that shouldn't exist. The stellar flare had done strange things to the planet's magnetic field. Radiation levels increasing, Jackson reported calmly. Still within acceptable parameters. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's voice came over the com from the medical bay. Captain, I'm monitoring everyone's exposure levels. We're all accumulating rads faster than predicted, but nothing immediately dangerous. The suits are working. Copy that. Pilot Chun, how's our approach? Pilot David Chun, no relation to the ambassador, worked his controls with practiced ease. Smooth as can be expected when flying through hell. The research station is coming up on visual. And Captain, they've got lights on. Someone down there is still alive. Santos felt her heart rate spike. They'd hoped, but hope and confirmation were different things. Can you raise them on comms? Negative. Their systems are too fried. But they can probably see us coming. The Determination descended through burning clouds. Lightning cracked across the sky, but not normal lightning. This was radiation discharge, purple and green and angry. The ship's shields flickered with each strike, but held. The research station appeared below them, a cluster of dome structures connected by reinforced tunnels. One dome had collapsed entirely. Another showed signs of fire damage. But the central structure still stood, its emergency lights blinking a steady pattern. That's Morse code, Jackson said suddenly. They're flashing SOS, Old Earth code. Someone down there knows their history. Or someone down there is human, Santos replied. She checked the manifest. Dr. Robert Park, xenobiology specialist. He's one of ours. The ship settled onto the landing pad with a thud that rattled everyone's teeth. Santos was already moving toward the airlock, pulling on her helmet. Team Alpha with me? We're going to the central dome. Team Bravo secured the ship and prepped the medical bay. Team Charlie, I need those transport pods ready to move scientists 5 at a time. Questions? Just one, Jackson said, falling into step beside her. When we pull this off, do we get to see the look on Ambassador Druven's face? When we pull this off, I'm buying everyone a drink. Assuming the radiation hasn't made alcohol toxic to us. Worth the risk, Jackson said cheerfully. The airlock cycled. The outer door opened. Santos took her first step onto Kethril 4 and immediately felt the heat through her suit's insulation. The radiation counter on her wrist display climbed steadily. 5 hours, maybe 6 if they pushed it. Enough time if everything went perfectly. In her experience, nothing ever went perfectly. Team Alpha moved quickly across the landing pad toward the central dome's emergency entrance. The air shimmered with radiation. The ground beneath their feet was warm, too warm. The stellar flare had heated the planet's crust. Captain, I'm reading unstable geology, came the voice of Team Charlie's leader, Engineer Rodriguez. The heat is causing tectonic stress. We might be looking at seismic activity. Define might be, Santos said. Working on the emergency door's manual override. 73% chance of a magnitude 6 or higher quake within the next 4 hours. Wonderful. Wonderful. Jackson, remind me to ask for hazard pay when we get home. Assuming we get home, Jackson said. Then, catching Santos's glare through her helmet, he added, which we absolutely will, because we're humans and we're too dumb to die. The door groaned open. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the interior. Santos and her team moved inside, weapons ready. Not because they expected hostiles, but because radiation could do strange things to people's minds, and they needed to be prepared for anything. Hello? Santos called out. This is Captain Santos of the Terran ship Determination. We're here to get you out. For a long moment, nothing. Then a door slid open down the corridor. A figure appeared, tall and thin, wearing a patched-together radiation suit that looked held together with hope and determination. "You actually came," the figure said. The voice was male, shaking with emotion. The Kree said it was impossible. The Vesson calculated the probabilities. Everyone said no one could reach us in time. Santos walked forward, hand extended. "Then it's a good thing we're humans. We don't know how to calculate probability. We just know how to show up when people need us." The figure pulled off his helmet. It was Dr. Park, his face gaunt and exhausted but alive. Tears ran down his cheeks. "There are 47 of us. Some are injured. All are weak from radiation exposure. I don't know if everyone can walk." "Then we'll carry them," Santos said simply. "That's what we came here to do. Now, Doctor, I need you to gather everyone in the central chamber. We have transport pods ready. We're going to get every single one of you off this rock." Park nodded, then seemed to truly see her for the first time. "Why? Why risk your lives for us? Some of us aren't even human. Most of us aren't." Santos smiled behind her helmet. "Because that's what humans do, Doctor. We run toward danger when everyone else runs away. We attempt the impossible because someone has to. And we don't leave people behind. Ever. Now let's move. We've got about 5 hours before this planet kills us all, and I plan to be halfway home by then." Park laughed, a sound caught between hysteria and hope. "You're all insane." "Absolutely," Jackson agreed. "It's a human requirement. Now let's go save some lives." The central chamber looked like a disaster zone. 47 scientists from a dozen different species huddled together in small groups. Some lay on makeshift beds, too weak to stand. Others paced nervously, their various appendages twitching with stress. The air smelled of fear and recycled oxygen running low. Santos assessed the situation in seconds. "Team Alpha, start triaging. Team Bravo, bring in the medical equipment. Rodriguez, I need those transport pods here now." The rescue team moved with practiced efficiency. Dr. Tanaka began scanning the injured, a medical tricorder working overtime. Each species had different biology, different tolerances to radiation. She'd studied for this mission, memorizing alien physiology until she could recite it in her sleep. "Captain, we have a problem," Tanaka called out. 3 Vesson scientists are in critical condition. Their crystalline structures are fracturing from the radiation. They need immediate medical intervention. Can they survive transport? If we stabilize them first. But that takes time we don't have. Santos made a decision. Do it anyway. We didn't come this far to lose anyone now. Jackson, organize the ambulatory scientists. Get them to the ship first. We'll handle the critical cases. A Kree scientist approached Santos. His rocky skin showed visible cracks from radiation damage. "Captain Santos, I am Dr. Bren. I must tell you, we attempted to calculate rescue probabilities 3 cycles ago. The numbers showed 0 chance of survival for any rescue team." "How did you solve the equation?" Santos checked her wrist display. 4 hours and 17 minutes of safe exposure remaining. "We didn't solve it, Doctor. We ignored it. Sometimes the math says something's impossible, but the math doesn't account for human stubbornness. That is not scientific." "No," Santos agreed. "It's not. But it got us here, didn't it?" The first group of scientists filed out toward the transport pods. Dr. Park led them, having recovered some strength with the hope of rescue. Through the dome's reinforced windows, Santos could see her ship waiting. The biogel coating still glowed softly, the tardigrade proteins working overtime to absorb the deadly radiation. Then the ground shook. It wasn't much at first, just a tremor that made everyone grab for support. But Santos had felt earthquakes before. She knew this was just the beginning. "Rodriguez, Report. Seismic event. Magnitude 4.2. Captain, the tectonic stress is building faster than predicted. We might have less time than we thought. Define less. 2 hours. Maybe 3. Scientists swore creatively in 3 languages. All teams, double time. We're leaving this planet before it decides to leave us. The rescue accelerated. Transport pods ferried scientists to the ship in groups of 5. Team Bravo carried the injured on stretchers, moving as fast as they dared. Dr. Tanaka worked miracles with her limited medical supplies, stabilizing the Vesson scientists enough for transport. Another quake hit, stronger this time. A crack appeared in the dome ceiling. Warning alarms began to sound. Structural integrity compromised, Jackson reported. Captain, the dome might collapse. How many left to evacuate? 17, including the 3 critical cases. Santos looked around the chamber. Her crew worked without panic, focused and determined. The scientists who could help were helping, regardless of species. A Cree held 4 bags for a wounded Threen. A Vesson used her crystalline manipulation to shore up the cracking dome structure. And her human crew moved through it all like they did this every day. Maybe they were crazy. But maybe crazy was exactly what the situation needed. Team Alpha, secure the last transport pod. Team Bravo, get those critical cases ready to move. Team Charlie, I need you too. The biggest quake yet cut her off. The ground heaved violently. Part of the dome collapsed with a shriek of tearing metal. The crack in the ceiling became a gaping hole. A crack in the gaping hole. Radiation poured in, unfiltered. Santos's wrist display screamed warnings. Exposure levels spiked. Her suit could handle it, but not for long. And the scientists without suits would start dying in minutes. Forget careful evacuation, Santos shouted. Everyone to the ship now. Jackson, help me with the Vesson. Rodriguez, get those pods moving. They ran. Through collapsing corridors and shaking ground, they ran. The human crew carried scientists who couldn't run themselves. Dr. Tanaka half-dragged, half-carried a wounded Threen twice her size. Fueled by adrenaline and determination, Santos and Jackson carried one of the critical Vesson scientists between them. The crystalline being barely weighed anything, but moving quickly in heavy radiation suits while carrying someone was exhausting. Santos's muscles screamed. Her lungs burned. Her radiation counter had stopped displaying numbers and just showed a flashing red warning. But she kept moving. The landing pad appeared ahead. The determination waited, its loading ramp down. Scientists poured up the ramp, helped by the crew. One transport pod had already docked. Another was incoming. Keep moving, Santos yelled. Don't stop. A massive quake hit. The landing pad tilted. A crack opened in the surface, spreading like a hungry mouth. One scientist, a young Cree, stumbled at the edge of the crack. Pilot Chun appeared from nowhere, grabbing the Cree's arm and pulling him back from the edge. Not today, he shouted. Nobody dies today. They reached the ship. Santos and Jackson carried the Vesson scientist up the ramp. Dr. Tanaka was already inside, preparing the medical bay. Rodriguez did a head count, checking off names. That's everyone, Rodriguez shouted. 47 scientists, 12 crew, all accounted for. Then let's get off this dying rock, Santos said. Pilot Chun, the bridge is yours. Get us airborne before this planet eats us. The loading ramp closed. The engines roared to life. The determination lifted off just as the landing pad collapsed entirely, falling into a newly formed chasm. The ship climbed through the burning atmosphere, through radiation storms and lightning. The biogel coating flickered, starting to fail. But it didn't need to last much longer. They broke through the atmosphere into the blessed darkness of space. Santa sagged against a bulkhead, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was. Her whole body ached. A radiation counter showed exposure levels that would hospitalize her for a week. Worth it. Medical status. Shishi, ROAKED. Dr. Tanaka's voice came over the comm. Everyone's alive. Some worse than others, but alive. The Vesson scientists are stable. Everyone else will need treatment, but should make full recoveries. Captain, we did it. We actually did it. Santis allowed herself a smile. Of course we did. We're human. It's what we do. Jackson appeared beside her, looking equally exhausted. Captain, incoming transmission from the assembly. They want a status report. Tell them mission accomplished. 47 beings saved. 0 casualties. The math was wrong. Think they'll believe us? Probably not. But they'll have to accept it anyway. The evidence is sitting in our medical bay. Santos looked out the viewport at Kethril 4, already falling away behind them. The planet that everyone said couldn't be saved. The rescue that everyone said was impossible. Set course for assembly station, she ordered. Let's go show the galaxy what happens when humans decide the math is wrong. As the Determination's engines engaged, and the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, Santis thought about Ambassador Chun's words. About being too stubborn to quit. About choosing the hard path because the easy path didn't need them. The galaxy had plenty of species who knew when to give up. Now, it had at least one that didn't. The assembly chamber was packed. Word of the rescue had spread through every corner of the station. Species that rarely attended sessions had sent representatives. Everyone wanted to see if the impossible had truly happened. Ambassador Chun stood in the center of the chamber, Captain Santos beside her. Behind them, the rescued scientists sat in a special viewing area. All 47 of them alive and recovering. High Curator Velis called the session to order. His 4 eyes studied the humans with something that might have been respect. Captain Santos, please present your mission report. Santa stepped forward. She still moved a bit stiffly. 3 days of radiation treatment had left her sore, but her voice was strong. The Determination departed Assembly Station 47 hours ago. We reached Kethril 4 with minimal complications. The biogel coating performed beyond expectations, reducing radiation penetration by 63%. We landed, evacuated all 47 scientists, and departed the planet 18 minutes before catastrophic tectonic collapse. Total mission time, 6 hours, 12 minutes. 0 casualties. The chamber erupted into a cacophony of sound, color, and movement. Ambassador Druven stood, his massive frame trembling. This is unprecedented. The calculations showed this was impossible. The calculations were incomplete, Santos said simply. They didn't account for determination. They didn't account for adaptation. They didn't account for the fact that sometimes beings will exceed their predicted limitations when lives are on the line. Ambassador Threen clicked rapidly. You risked 12 lives to save 47. The mathematics still suggest this was foolish. You could have lost everyone. But we didn't, Chan interjected. And that's the point. Yes, there was risk. Yes, the probability of success was low. But probability isn't destiny. It's just a number. Humans have been beating the odds since we learned to walk upright. Dr. Park stood in the viewing area. May I speak? Velis gestured assent. The assembly recognizes Dr. Robert Park. Park moved to join Santos and Chun. His Cree colleague, Dr. Bren, came with him. The 2 scientists stood before the assembled ambassadors. I am a human, Park said. Dr. Bren is Cree. We are different species, different biologies, different philosophies. But we both stood on Kethril 4, watching our air supply dwindle and our shielding fail. We both accepted that we would die there. Dr. Bren spoke next, his voice like grinding stone. Then the humans arrived. They came through radiation that should have killed them. They worked through conditions that should have been impossible. They carried those of us who could not walk. They refused to leave until every being was safe. This was not human saving human. This was one species deciding that all species deserve rescue. The mathematics said we should all be dead, Park continued. Captain Santos, her crew, and all 47 of us. But we stand before you alive because humans looked at those numbers and said, no. They found a way when everyone else said there was no way. Velis leaned forward. Captain Santos, your after-action report mentions that your biogel coating began failing during ascent. Your crew's radiation exposure exceeded safe limits. Several of your team members remain in medical care. Knowing this, knowing you might have failed, would you still have attempted the rescue? Santos didn't hesitate. Yes. Why? Because it was right. Because those 47 beings deserved a chance. Because if humanity only acts when success is guaranteed, then we're not really living up to what we could be. She paused, then added, High Curator, the galaxy has many species more advanced than humans. You have better technology, longer histories, deeper knowledge. But maybe humanity brings something else to the table. Maybe we bring the willingness to try when trying seems pointless. The stubborn refusal to accept that some beings are just lost causes. The belief that long odds are still odds, and therefore still worth taking. Ambassador Druven made a sound like rocks tumbling down a mountain, the Cree equivalent of a sigh. You are saying humans are too foolish to recognize impossibility. No, Chum said. We recognize it. We just don't care. Impossibility is an invitation, not a boundary. A new voice spoke up. Ambassador Tress of the Vesson floated forward, her crystalline body refracting the chamber's light into rainbows. 3 of my people were dying on Kethro 4. Your Dr. Tanaka saved them using techniques adapted on the fly. Because no standard protocol existed for treating crystalline radiation fracture in those conditions. She invented a solution because the situation demanded it. Humans excel under pressure, Santos said. Maybe that's our real contribution. You have species that plan perfectly, that calculate precisely, that build carefully. You need at least one species that improvises, that pushes boundaries, that refuses to accept limitations. Not because we're better, but because we're different. Velis was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. The Assembly has witnessed an achievement deemed impossible. 47 lives saved through innovation, determination, and, he paused, as if tasting an unfamiliar concept, and stubborn refusal to acknowledge impossibility. Captain Santos, Ambassador Chun, the Assembly thanks you. There's more, Chun said. The biogel technology we developed for this rescue has applications beyond emergency response. The tardigrade proteins can protect ships, stations, and colonies from radiation. We'd like to share this technology with the Assembly. Free of charge. The chamber went silent. Species looked at each other in confusion. You would give away this technology? Threen asked. It is valuable. You could demand significant concessions. We could, Chun agreed. But that's not why we developed it. We developed it to save lives. If it can save more lives by being shared, then sharing is what we'll do. That's another human trait. We work better when everyone works together. Druven stood again. Ambassador Chun, Captain Santos. When humans first joined this assembly, many of us were uncertain. Your species is young, impulsive, unpredictable. We questioned whether you were ready for galactic society. Santos felt her jaw tighten, but Chun remained calm. I questioned this also, Druven continued. But I was wrong. Humans are not ready for galactic society. Galactic society is ready for humans. You bring chaos, yes. Unpredictability, certainly. But you also bring innovation born of desperation, courage born of compassion, and hope born of simple stubbornness. These are qualities we have forgotten. These are qualities we need. He turned to address the full assembly. The Kree formally proposed that humanity be granted full member status with all rights and responsibilities. We have seen enough. They are ready. More than that, we need them. One by one, other ambassadors stood in agreement. The Vessin, the Threen, even the cautious Helix, who rarely committed to anything. Velus's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. The motion carries unanimously. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Assembly. May you bring your unique perspective to our combined future. Chun smiled. Santos grinned. And in the viewing area, the 47 rescued scientists, human and alien alike, erupted in applause. Later, in a quiet observation deck, Santos stood watching the stars. Jackson found her there, 2 drinks in hand. Couldn't sleep? He asked, offering her a glass. Too much excitement. We went from rescue crew to representatives of human courage in one afternoon. She sipped the drink. Think we can live up to that? We already did. We flew into hell and pulled out 47 miracles. Everything after that is just details. Santos laughed. When you put it that way. They stood in companionable silence, watching ships come and go from the station. Every species in the galaxy coming together in one place. And now, humanity had a permanent seat at that table. Jackson, do you think we're actually crazy? Like everyone says? Absolutely. Completely insane. He raised his glass. But that's what makes us human. We're the species that looked at the stars and decided to visit them. That looked at the impossible and decided to try anyway. That looked at a deadly planet and said, not today. So yeah, we're crazy. And the galaxy is better for it. Santos clinked her glass against his. To humanity. To the species too stubborn to know when to quit. To the ones who run toward danger. To the ones who beat the odds. They drank together, looking out at a galaxy that had just learned an important lesson. When humans say something is worth fighting for, they mean it. When they say they don't leave people behind, they prove it. And when they say the impossible is just another challenge, they demonstrate it. The galaxy had plenty of species who knew their limits. Now it had one that didn't. And somehow, that made everything possible.